I got into Springsteen, I came in backwards. A horrible ex-girlfriend got me into it. She didn't really like him. She goes, I got tickets to go see the Born in the USA tour at the Oakland Coliseum, and I was like, sure, I'll go. So I went. And she was kind of bored, and I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. At one point, Springsteen's got 80,000 people in his hands. He looks, I mean, he did bits. Him and Clarence did bits, which I was already a comic, and I was like, what am I seeing? I didn't get it. Same with my new wife, who wasn't a big fan, and I took her to see the Magic Tour, and I wrote that bit about her where she turns to me, she goes, man, I would do him in front of you. And I was like, I know, I would do him in front of you. And so what happens is Springsteen's live performance got me. So after that concert, I became obsessed. And then I went backwards, and I didn't know, and over the years I've gotten better, but I went back to Nebraska. When I hit Nebraska, I literally sucked down that album as a staple in my musical diet. I didn't play anything else for probably a month, and then I went back to the hits. And then right about that time, I was a fan through that. And then he came. The Born in the USA was great. I know every song on that one. And then when he came out with the remember the box set, the 75, 85 box set.
I know what you're talking about.
That's when I went back to a little more in depth on the River and the other albums, the Live Innocent and the A Street Shuffle. And so I'm a little bit, this is not, there's great songs on this album.
There are. Yes, there are.
Cadillac Ranch, just classics. Like the second they're on, you're like, I'm up and I'm dancing. And then there's songs you're like, okay. And I think this album listen, I'm not going to talk for Bruce, but it feels like every artist has that one project, whether you're a comic or where you're like, I'm throwing as much shit at the wall as I possibly can throw at the wall. And there's songs that connect on this album that are like Lost in the Flood. It's not on this album, but it connects. Like you can like the Bruce DNA. It's just all over this album, and it's hard to go back to this album after you know what he did after this album. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What's the record that came after? Because the one before this is Darkness on the Edge of Town, which is coming off of Born to Run.
The one that came after this one was I have the discography in front of me because I didn't want to look like a lame-o.
It is Nebraska. Well, no, E Street Band is Born in the USA. Yeah, so it goes Darkness, then The River, right, then Nebraska, and then Born in the USA.
But do you feel like this album, because it's a great album, by the way. I'm not.
By the way, please don't think that way, Chris. Please don't think that I'm shitting on this in a way that. I'm not the biggest Bob Dylan fan, and only because on this podcast we're doing it backwards. We're listening to his later stuff first, and then eventually we're going to get down to the meat and potatoes of why Bob Dylan is Bob Dylan. And so all those records, because this reminded me of something like Time Out of Mind, which are like 7-minute songs about life, about death, about love, but Bruce has that thing that Bob has, which they're both storytellers, and they're fucking phenomenal at it. So, you get lost in what they're saying, and you're like, are they talking about Jesus? Or are they talking about a girl that lives down the street?
They named Jesus. What is going on? I feel this. So this album, but then you got like Wreck on the Highway. The lyrics, it's not that long of a song, but it there's a moroseness to some of this in the album. And then you go to Cadillac Ranch or Ramrod and it's weird because there's so much in this. There's, like you said, there's so many different genres in this 50s, 60s, and then I was going through what were the hit songs. You gotta remember when this album came out, disco was peaking, punk had started happening, the Talking Heads had come out. Like this album kind of got lost, except for the hits. And like the River, I play the River. I love River's one of my favorites.
River's great. Dude, Chris, I'll say this straight up. Out in the Street is one of my favorite Bruce Springsteen songs of all time.
Yeah.
And like, I would love for him to see him play that live. I saw him, goddamn, it was when he put out the 2 records at the same time, Lucky Town and Human Touch.
Yep.
And my friend Greg Chait, one of my best friends still, his dad was obsessed with Bruce, and he bought 4 tickets, one for him and his wife, and then, or his girlfriend, and then he bought another 2, which I think he bought the other 2 first, and then he got better seats, and so he gave me and his son these seats that were like in the back of the Capitol Center, and I knew nothing other than Born in the USA and maybe a couple other songs that Greg had played to me. And we're young. I mean, we're 12, 13 years old maybe. And Greg's a little bit older, maybe like 14. But like that was the first time I heard Born to Run live. I heard, Thunder Road, which, those are staples. And I mean, listening, of course, he played Hungry Heart. But, out of all of this stuff, those great songs that we're talking about get lost, chunked up in between songs that are not bad. They're just not that thing that is like Born to Run is just 10 songs, all gold, just from top to bottom. And then you have Born in the USA, same fucking thing. Darkness on the Edge of Town, a lot darker, but like, just like the title, but still it's like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. This just had that thing that made me be like, God damn, dude! Like, how many more songs are on this? Dude, I was working at I was working at the gym today because I always like to give. I give 3 listens. I give the initial go through all the way through. I have possibly on mushrooms. I listen to a record, and then I'll have at the gym. Does this work at the gym? And some of the songs do, some of the songs don't. But I remember I was almost an hour into the workout finishing up, and I was like, the album's probably almost over. And I was like, fuck, I have another.
Oh, no, it's not.
22 minutes, and my walk home is 8. So I didn't even get to finish it, and I fucking did a hardcore workout today.
Yeah, there's a couple songs on this album that literally are already encapsulated in Lost in the Flood. There was 3 songs I was like, he did this song. Then there's other songs that break it down. When I went and saw Bruce Springsteen live the first time, and it was Hungry, and it was Born in the USA tour, which is a great album, but I feel like Born in the USA, like I feel about Purple Rain. When people start talking to me about Purple Rain, I'm a huge Prince fan too, and I'm like, yeah. Have you heard Nebraska? Like with Springsteen, I'm like, I go, have you heard? I mean, it's like. Born in the USA was, the story about Born in the USA, right?
I don't know, please.
Okay, so they didn't want to release Nebraska. So the record company, he brought him Nebraska, and he did it on that shitty reel-to-reel tape thing that he found in the beach and cleaned it up. So that's why it's got that weird. And they couldn't they couldn't remake the album. So he wrote those songs. Nebraska's a demo. Did you know that?
I did not.
That's the fucking demo. So what happened with that? So Springsteen found this reel-to-reel tape recorder, recorded it in this one room, this farmhouse he was renting, recorded it, did all the songs, Johnny Nine, all of them, and then gave it to the record company. And they said, is this what you really want to do? And they went in with the band and tried to recreate it. They couldn't do it. Every time they did it, they were like, that doesn't sound as good as the demo, because the fucking reel-to-reel recorder had slowed down like 4%. So it had that weird haunting, and it made the harmonicas weird. It made the guitars a little weird. And that's why Nebraska is such a really crazy artistic. So he turned it into the record company, and he says, this is what I want to put out. And they said, blow me, we're not doing it. so he goes, if you do this album, if you put this album out, I'll give you a pop hit record. And that's where Born in the USA came from.
I mean, looking over the track listing, because I've listened to Nebraska, which, a lot of the Killers, influence has been from that record. Born to Run, especially, but, the Pressure Machine, their 2021 record, is basically a homage to Nebraska. And if you look at it, Nebraska Rules, Atlantic City is phenomenal. Johnny 99, Open All Night, Highway Patrolman. I mean, those are all great songs. And that's also a great record because if you look at the personnel of it, it's all Bruce. Much like, what was the one that we did? Oh my God. What was the one with Tougher Than the Rest, which is my favorite Bruce Springsteen song? The one he did after the divorce. We're here.
That album has a lot of duality.
We got it. We know it.
No, we know it.
Adam, this is when you're supposed to jump in.
Why am I doing?
Tunnel of Love.
The title song. That album has such duality in it, man. Because if you know Bruce Springsteen, if you're a fan, I told people when that album came out, because I was already a Monster fan, I had sucked down Nebraska. And that album came out. I turned to friends. I was like, Bruce is in trouble. like, have you heard this album? I go, his marriage isn't working and something else is going on. And they go, you're kidding? I go, nope, listen to this album. You know, all the way from Tunnel of Love, which is like, oh, that's some hope in that song. Let's take this risk. And then they go, went out this morning, the house is dark. Hit the engine, she wasn't turning. Went out and parked the microphone, hit the engine. And it's like you realize, oh shit, something's coming apart. And that was right when the divorce hit. Like it was. Yeah. So you knew. What I love about Bruce is, like all great storytellers, whether you're writing a book, doing stand up, or anything, is that you can. Pryor was a great example. Like whatever he's talking about, it's pretty much happening. But I think on this album, I think the river, and he says it in an interview. He said, I was looking, great artists can actually see things and write about it without experiencing it, you know, without being in it.
Yeah.
He wrote the river about his brother-in-law and what he was going through. And so these are not personal songs, but what Bruce was doing was, again, great musicians can see something and write about it. Comics can do the same thing. But what Bruce did with, I think this album really, for me, you got to remember, you just said it. Darkness on the Edge of Town, Born to Run. He had these fucking monsters, like monsters, where you're like, holy shit. Where you can tell it's an artist, again, with Purple Rain. You can tell Prince went in with Purple Rain and went, every song on this album is going to blow people's brains out the back of their head.
Yeah.
And I think this album, he had so much success. I think the record company, I mean, imagine what he was going through in 1980. Imagine. He's got all this stuff. He's having this weird artistic kind of like, what do I do now? Is this all there is? He didn't have a life. He'd been touring constantly. He didn't have great relationships. He didn't have a home. He was just on the road. And so he wrote this album, and that's why he said, like, this album wasn't the best time for him. And then whatever happened, then he wrote Nebraska, and I think Bruce really found out. I don't give a fuck after this album. That's when Nebraska, because you got to remember, when Nebraska came out, nobody was dropping something like that. Nobody.
No, but yeah, I think you made a really good point. I also think it probably, after you've had the run of albums that he had prior to this, and like with Born to Run being an album that is not just, you know, commercially successful, but also critically, you know, and people are saying, I'm pretty sure like right around there, they're already, you know, he's the golden son of New Jersey, and just the fucking, he's the boss is starting to be talked about. You know, he's at this place where he's like, well, I can do whatever the fuck I want too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he probably, like, we have this little spiel going off what you said at a 2009 concert. Bruce spoke about the album saying the river was a record that was sort of the gateway to a lot of my future writing.
Yes.
It was a record made during a recession, hard times in the States. Its title song is a song I wrote for my brother-in-law and sister. My brother-in-law was in the construction industry, lost his job, and had to struggle very hard back in the late 70s, like so many people are doing today. It was a record where I first started to tackle men and women and families and marriage. There are certain songs on it that led to complete records later on. The river sort of went to the writing on Nebraska. Stolen Car went to the writing on Tunnel of Love. Originally, it was a single record. I handed it in with just one record, and I took it back because I didn't feel it was big enough. I wanted to capture the themes I had been writing about on Darkness. I wanted to keep those characters with me, and at the same time added music that made our live shows so much fun and joy for our audience. So in the end, we're going to take you down to the river tonight. Well, I mean, yeah, that all is like, you know,
that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense when you hear that. But also, and now I'm going to read the little like dingle we have about this. That this is Adam up there. Adam, God bless your soul, buddy. I don't give you enough props for how thorough.
Adam, jump in anytime too, man. You sound like you're a huge Monster fan. And by the way, and if I say something stupid, jump in, stop me.
We will.
Good.
We will.
Good.
Right now, you're killing it, dude. So don't stop. So originally, he intended this record to be a single album entitled "The Ties That Bind." He had been working with the E Street Band at his home studio, Telegraph Hill Studios, which was actually a barn at his New Jersey property. By early August, there was an initial cut of 10 songs and Columbia began to believe they might have a new Springsteen record in time for Christmas '79. So Springsteen then signed off on The Ties That Bind, and the tapes were sent off for mastering in October. But when they came back, he suddenly canceled the release and went back to recording. He later said, the songs lacked the kind of unity and conceptual intensity I liked in my music to have.
So let's add 10 more.
Yeah. He's like, I got to throw another 22? 22. His manager and co-producer, John Landau, suggested that maybe this record needed to be a double record in order to encompass everything Springsteen was trying to achieve. After another 7 months, the sessions came to an end. The River was released October 17th, 1980, with 20 of the 50 songs that had been recorded, which spanned a period of almost 2 years. Do we know, Adam, is there something in here that says what happened to the other 30 songs?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'm curious. Think about that though, dude, is that he's churning out 50 songs in a year.
Yep.
50. I mean, I don't think I've written 10 minutes of new material in a year sometimes. I mean, you're like, it's so, hearing something like that, and because I know you've had, special after special, like, what is your writing process like when it comes to getting your hour together? How much time are you working on that next special?
Oh man, it's weird because Springsteen, Lily Tomlin Springsteen, Pryor, and Prince are actually really big inspirations for me in writing. I need to come up with what it's about. If I come up with I'll come up with something that needs to be. It's weird, man. And a lot of comics think I guess I treat comedy too precious, man. What's this show about? Like the last one was about COVID and stuff, and it was about my near-death experience and how nothing really matters. And so once I had that, I'm like, okay, now what else is going on and how do I thread this? So then I start writing bits to thread it, and it's weird, man. Live performing will edit itself out. Yeah. I'll write what I think is the show, and then just by osmosis, all of a sudden what the fuck? I was doing this bit that worked well. Where is that bit now? And so then there's a bin. I have a bit. In fact, Voice in My Head, where I tell the Bruce Springsteen story, is literally a bunch of bits that I wrote for other shows that just got cut out. I had this pile, like 50 songs. I had this pile of, it was basically stories of me being a raging fuck up, and I go, oh, that's thematic. Every story about me being a loser. Let's do that special. And so, so I get it. I get it. It's interesting that I've read some stuff about Bruce where he really gets, it has to be right. It has to be right. And I have this weird thing about writing where if I can get to 97% of what I want, I'm fine. The effort it takes to get that 3% never pays off as much as the first 97. So, and it's 200% more effort to get that 3%. And now it may happen on the road over a year of doing the show.
But so I mean, well, we're always editing on stage for sure. And I mean, I think when you start pulling together stuff and jokes start getting dropped, it's almost like, all right, well, at least I have these for the next special. So not even the next special, just the next time I go out on the street and start hitting the clubs again, it's like I've got these jokes that got edited out. Right. I mean, but you're also you're a great storyteller. So it's almost perfect that you're doing this because your stand-up is like a Bruce Springsteen record. I mean, you're taking us through, you know what I mean? It's like, dude,
the new one really is. The new one, Carrying Monsters, is all about it starts with my first memory in life, which is going to bars with my mom when I was 4. I didn't go with her. She took me. I wasn't like, yo, mom, where's the party up in this bitch? It's 10:30. I'm 4. Let's do something. Yeah. She took me to bars with her. And the joke I do is because babysitters cost like 3 drinks an hour. And so that's my first memory. And it ends with like me hitchhiking at 11, hitchhiking to run away from my dad, living with my crazy mom, and then it ends up I move back to my dad's, and he tells me, "I hope your fucking kids do this to you one day." And then my kids did. My kids left me when I got divorced for their mother, and they did it to me. So this whole fucking story comes back. So I know what you're saying. Like I love Bruce because of the storytelling, and and this album I believe has The River has the greatest line I think. I tried to figure it out. I don't know if it makes sense, but it sounds so good. Is a dream a lie if it don't come true, or is it something worse? And it's one of those things that it's not so specific where you're like, I get it. You're like, yeah, wait. So he's I think he's amazing. But like you said, like this album has all the DNA to spare parts. I would say it was from this album, Straight Time. You know, Stolen Card reminds me of Straight Time. There's like so many things that you can see he was really finding the Bruce Springsteen that we ended up with, and some of those story songs that are just amazing. Goes to Tom Joad. I think this album, a lot of the story songs.
Yeah.
Ghost is another album that you just go. It's hard to go back and review again, as I said, to review what he's done after knowing what he can do. Do you know what I mean? Like I agree with you on that. There's a couple songs now I'm like, that's a Bruce Springsteen song, and that you know.
Oh, I can't tell you how many different artists I've listened to throughout doing this podcast that I'm like, oh, that's directly influenced by Bruce, and you can almost pinpoint what. You know, whether it's like kind of playing like a 50s like rockabilly riff into, and singing about, middle America or the working man. It's like I always feel like it's formulating somehow back to Bruce, much like you mentioned Richard Pryor, where it's like, and Lenny Bruce and these guys that really fucking took it to the next level of stand-up and what we do. And it's all kind of goes back to that. There's something about him that, not just the music, but just him that has always, he goes out there still in his 70s and plays a 3-hour show and gives you everything he has for those 3 hours. And then, and then I go see bands like Pearl Jam, and you see Eddie up there and doing the same fucking thing. Yep. And I mean, giving you everything he has. And then I went to see Depeche Mode, and you see David Gahan, I think his name is, the lead singer, who gives you everything. And it's like, I still think definitely Eddie, but even David is like they're taking what Bruce has. He's just this like Energizer bunny of just, they wind him up, they put him on stage, or they wind him up and they put him in the studio and he just goes. So I think this is Bruce right in that perfect spot in his career where now he's got success so he can go any direction he wants. Plus he's like got that energy because he's only probably in his late 20s, early 30s. 30, and he's just fucking attacking.
But then again, but the album, he said he was kind of like, again, is this all there is? And I think he had all that. He had fucking nailed it to the wall live performing. I mean, you got to remember, Springsteen's albums and his songs, great, but they weren't as big as other people's songs. But everybody, to a person who sees him live, just goes, holy shit. And I write 90-minute shows. This new one's about an hour 20. Yeah. Because I want the audience to be done. At the end, they'd have to be like, holy shit, I didn't stop. I also try to write a punchline for every sentence because Springsteen is fucking nonstop. I saw him one night. We saw him at the sports arena before it closed, and was it Magic? No, it was after Clarence died. Maybe it wasn't the sports arena. And he was talking about Clarence. Clarence had died, and he let the band kind of went away, half the band, and he took it really, really down. Yeah. And he started doing this thing on the mic, man, and it was just, he goes, "We walk with ghosts. We walk with ghosts." And it's an arena, and I remember as a performer, it's weird because we watch things differently. It's very rare that we totally get lost in a performance, right?
Sure.
You always have that other mind going, I see what he's doing.
Yeah, of course.
And I remember being so fucking lost in it. And what he was doing was, they got to the solo on, I want to say Jungle Land, whatever it was. Yeah. And they hit the solo, and he points to the fucking the fucking screen for the basketball game, and it just started, and the whole band stopped. Everybody stopped, and for 3 minutes, that 3-minute sax solo that's supposed to go there, it was dead silent, and all Bruce did was hold his fucking finger up, point to the sky. Dead silent for the whole solo. And on the beat, the band comes back in. And I was like, what the fuck did I just see?
Wow.
And slowly they're just doing pictures of Clarence in that silence. And that's the kind of thing look, man, there's a lot of people that have songs and they get up and they play song after song after song after song after song. But to care about the theater of it, like that's what I love. Like I love, like when him and Clarence, when I saw him in '84, the theater of it. The best artists have a piece of theater in it, and which was I try to have like a make point with my shows. I don't do my porn bit, my pot bit, my drinking bit, my girlfriend sucks bit, and then I get off. I actually start with a premise, and then I try to end with. I try to prove. I start with like the beginning of the show is the great inflammable Richard Pryor once said, everybody carries their own monsters. Tonight you get to meet all of mine. And then I start telling all these stories all the way to my ex said I beat her and my kids. Like I get to that, and I talk about my sister's suicide. Here's the setup for the joke I do in this new show. I go, my sister grabbed the gun out of her drawer, sat at the end of his bed, put it in her mouth, and blew her brains all over the headboard. That's a setup. I'm not going to tell you the punchline because I get a laugh off of it, but I get it. But the audience is like this. What the fuck? And yeah. I think and Springsteen has this amazing ability. Why he is so great, I saw him in Australia too, why he is so fucking great is he's willing to, like a great comic, he can take in the moment, the moment doesn't bother him. Whatever happens, he goes with it. I saw him in Australia. We were, so in Australia, the fucking power kept going out. We're in this stadium, like a soccer stadium, and all of a sudden the band's cranking. It's awesome. This is the Rising tour. And the fucking sound goes out. Like everything shuts down. They get it back working again, does it again. 10 minutes later, sound goes out again. Sound goes out one more time. Bruce Springsteen walks to the edge of the stage. He sits down like that. Sound comes back on. He goes, everybody, I want to just say out in Sydney tonight, if you're using your blow dryer, please turn it off. He goes, don't iron your clothes for the next hour and a half, please. and he just riffed this bit about why the power was. So, and recently, did you see the video where he fell down? He was running up.
I didn't see that. Adam, you got it? Pull that up. Let's take a look at that. How many times have you seen him?
Man, how many times have I seen Bruce? Just maybe seven times.
7 times.
Not crazy. I'm not the dude that bought a motorhome to travel behind the tour buses.
Sure. Do you know Maureen Tarrant? She used to work at True TV. She's worked at the old Boston comedy club here in New York. She's worked with Burr and she's just great. She's seen Bruce, I think, in the 60s. She's seen him about 60 times. I've seen him once. Well, you got it? Pull it up. Let's see.
Watch wait, I just want to point. Here's my point. Watch what he does after he gets up. This is such a comic moment for me. Nose comes over, grabs the guitar. Good night, everybody.
He's great. He's a person that he did a storytelling show with with Stern on one of the which is phenomenal, and just to listen to him talk, I wish I could have seen the show that he did on Broadway. Did you get to go to that?
No, but I saw the filming of it. I got to watch it on TV. But the thing that the Stern thing, here's how cool Springsteen is. Stern had talked shit about Springsteen. Did you know that?
Yeah, Stern apologized. Yeah,
and Springsteen had to go do it, and I thought it was great. My daughter's a musician. Her name's Kenny, Keni, and she actually is putting out songs all the time. And my proudest moment. So I've been telling her do this. I'm a big Prince fan. I'm a Springsteen fan, and I kept telling her about Nebraska. And she finally, this is years ago. I told her when she was 14 she was writing songs. And now she's 21, and we went to lunch, and she goes, I go, what are you into right now? She goes, I finally started listening to Nebraska, Dad. I should have listened to it 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, but I love this. He's You know the story where I got to meet him, right? Like,
please tell me this.
I did a whole bit. I did a 29-minute bit in Voice in My Head about this.
Please tell me. Tell me everything.
All right, so here's the story. So I'm working Phoenix at the Improv in Tempe, and I get Dan Muir calls me, and the manager goes, "Hey, Nils Lofgren wants to come to your show," and I go, "Wow, I'm sorry." I go, "Nils E Street Band Lofgren," and he goes,
Bullets Fever.
Yeah, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I go, Nils Lofgren is amazing, and he goes, yeah. So they want to come to the show. So him and his wife come to the show. Show goes well, thank God. I didn't tank in front of Nils. They come backstage and they're like, hey, great show. Well, we came to see you because Bruce and Patty are fans, and I go, Bruce who? I really was like, you're not fucking talking about Bruce Springsteen. He goes, yeah. So anyways, do you want to come to our show? And we get to LA. And dude, we're in the business. We're like, yeah, I'll see you. Call me so I can go to your show. Yeah. So here's the weird thing. So I'm not that guy. I don't want to buy tickets. I don't want to borrow tickets. I'll buy them. I'll pay for my fucking tickets. I'm not that guy. I know what it's like, on the other side of that. So what happens is that I can't get tickets. It was the Magic Tour. Radio Nowhere had blew up. It was sold out. It's Bruce anyway. So and I got waiting too long, and I couldn't get tickets. And I had the money to buy good tickets, and I couldn't get them. So I called Nils, and I go, Nils, I go, please, I want to pay for them. Please do not give them to me. Let me be that guy. I want to be that guy. Yeah. So Nils goes, I'll call you back in a couple days. A couple days later, phone rings. I'm driving down Lankershim, and it's a woman. She goes, hi, is this Christopher Titus? I go, yeah. She goes, hi, this is Patty Springsteen. And I'm like, Patty Scalfa Springsteen, Rumble Patty Scalfa. And she goes, yeah. I go, you can't call me. You can't just call me. You have to have someone call me to tell me you're going to call me. I'm driving my car right now. And she starts laughing. She goes, I just want you to know Bruce and I are fans. And I was like, Bruce who? Like, you're talking about your husband? So she goes, listen, we want you to come to the show. Please go to this hotel and get tickets. So I'm like, I can't believe it. I'm a huge fan of your albums too. So I go to get tickets at this hotel. It's one of these hotels in LA that you don't even know it's a hotel. It just looks like a weird building. Yeah. I know. It's kind of weird building, and you're like it's like cool human Area 51 where you walk in and you're like, holy shit, that's. Why is Keith Richards in? Holy shit, Bruce Springsteen. So I go in and I go to the concierge and I go, and I'm kind of like cocky. I'm like, yeah, do you have anything for Christopher Titus? And the guy goes, flip. Nope. And I'm like, fuck, I got pumped by Nils Lofgren. So I start to leave, and the guy goes, I'm sorry, Mr. Titus, I do have something. It's in the vault. So he leaves. He comes back with this envelope. It's just an envelope, like in the vault. It's got tickets for the show. It's got backstage passes. There's a note in it from this guy named Tony, and the passes say PS on it. And I go, oh my God, like person of suspicion. Like they want to make sure, because they know I'm going to be a psycho. They know this Titus is a little intense. He's going to be a psycho. Yeah. And my new girlfriend at the time goes, Patty Springsteen, idiot. Oh, right.
Person of suspicion. Yeah, you fucking SVU, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So we go to the show. We go to the show that night. We're not even in the audience. We're actually in like next to the stage. And there's like, I'm 15 feet from the stage off to the side. There's two other couples with them. I don't notice them because I'm panicking. I'm also dating she's my wife now, but we were just dating at the time. Mm-hmm. So, and I got backstage next to the stage tickets, so I'm like, I'm rocking this. I'm fucking rocking this.
You're the man. Yeah. You're the man. Except you're freaking out like a little fangirl. I can't believe it. It's a person of suspicion. And she's like,
So here's how weird it was in the area we were in. Whatever we were in, two people see me from the audience and go, hey, Titus. And they start to come over the barrier to say hi. Yeah. And they get clotheslined, dude. And I'm like, oh, where are we standing? Like, why is security so intense here? I'll tell you why. So the show goes amazing. We're watching it. Clarence Clemens, by the way, winked at my new girl repeatedly on the side of the stage. I was like, all right. And then this guy Tony comes up to me and he goes, hey, I'm Tony. He goes, I'm one of Bruce's guys. Let me tell you, you stay here to the at the last song. I'm gonna come get you because Bruce wants to talk to you. And again, I'm dead like, Bruce who? What the fuck are you talking about? Bruce? I'm like that. This is the bit, by the way, but that I was really like, what? And so he goes, just give it. So he leaves.
What's running through your mind? What is running through your? Are you nervous, excited? Are you a little kid? How do you feel?
Totally little kid, dude. You got to remember, I'm like, why am I here? Like, it was the most surreal. By the way, it got worse. I had in my pocket a 3-page letter to Mr. Bruce Springsteen.
Please don't give it to him. Please
don't. Let me tell you the story. I'm still embarrassed. So here's what happens. I go, the last song was playing, Tony goes, hey, you guys follow me back. Well, he points to the other two couples. Now, I was enjoying the show. We were having a blast. Because if you've seen Bruce Springsteen live, holy shit.
It's the best. It's the best. He gives you what you want. He gives you your money's worth. Yeah, every show.
That's why I perform the way I perform. I want the audience to leave tired. We're going Badlands. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we start to go backstage, and I don't know who the other two couples are, but obviously they're important to Mr. Springsteen, so I'm going to let them. I back up. I'm going to let them go first. I'm like, sure. After you. It's the Edge from U2 and Adam Clayton and their girls, and I start smacking I'm like, oh, like a whole other level. Dude, this is a true story. We get backstage, all the cases around, all the touring cases. I walk up to the Edge from U2, and I say, I just want you to know, man, I'm a huge fan. I have everything you guys ever done. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. And I go, I've bought so much of your stuff. I honestly said this. This is not a bit. I wrote it in a bit. That I really said this.
Okay.
The Edge from U2 in the face, and I say, dude, I bought so much of your stuff. I paid for that shirt. Dude. And the edge goes, you ever have someone like come up to you at a show and they're just so much, you're like, Edge just looks at me and he goes, great. My girl, Rachel, she does this. Here's what I say to the Edge. By the way, her friends are like run tours for Linkin Park and stuff, like they're big guys. She literally, standing next to me, Edge, she goes and walks the fuck away. She left me.
You're being a dildo, bro. You're being a fucking hand job. You're embarrassing her.
Dude, I was such a goofball.
She was gonna fuck you tonight, and then everything you've done is like, this is the guy. This is the guy? Okay.
Dude, I respect anybody that gets. So I sit down on a case and I'm just sitting there. Then Henry Winkler walks over to me with his wife, and Henry goes, hey, Titus, how you doing? I'm like, oh, man, how's it going? And I'm still feeling like a douchebag. And he goes, and we start talking about, I was on that show Big Shots at the time, and Henry Winkler's wife goes, I love that show Big Shots. And I was like, really? And so, and I go, yeah, the scripts are a little weird. And Henry Winkler stops me, and he goes, hey, don't ever complain about the scripts. And because I was a writer on my show, and I go, yeah, I know. He goes, no. Ron Howard told me once. He goes, it takes a long time. It's impossible to write a good script, bad script. It's almost magical to write a good one. And then he gave me this lecture about acting, about directing, and how it compared to acting. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, I just douchebagged in front of the Edge. Henry Winkler's given me a lecture on show business, and I'm gonna meet Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, I kind of got scolded by Henry Winkler.
Scolded, dude.
It was the night by the
Fonz, dude. By the Fonz.
Exactly. So
Gene Cousineau gave you the 1-2 buckle my shoe, dude.
He threw it. So here's what happens. So we wait, and I'm trying to be really cool. Oh, and then I see Jackson Browne, but I decide I've already douchebagged enough in front of fucking the Edge. I'm not gonna. Oh no, it came later. It still happened. So we take us back into the dressing room. And the cool thing about rock and roll and show business, and whatever show business, no matter how big you are, the dressing rooms and the green rooms suck ass. It was just this cinder block thing with a rolling rack. It was leather vest, t-shirt, leather jeans. It was the same. And there's wine. Chad Lowe was there. And so I'm standing there with Ray and my girl, and Bruce and Patty walk over to me, and she goes, "Hi, I just want you to know why you're here." And Bruce Springsteen goes, I meet him. I'm like, I can't believe it. I hand him the letter. Because
I get it. I get it. No, but listen, this is you meeting somebody that you feel like you've known and that knows you. Music hits differently than any other art form. You know what I mean? It's like we watch a great movie and it touches us and we cry, and that's beautiful. But you don't like I love the movie Babe, but I still eat pork. Do you know what I mean? It's not like music, dude. I'm telling you, like, because I fanboyed out when I met Beck the first time because of.
Oh my God!
I love Sea Change. It's one of the greatest albums ever made, and I just was like, and he just was like, all right, hey, thanks, man, and then. You know, I appreciate it. And he walked away. And like you said, you're just running it. Like, why would I do that? But, you know, God's honest truth is like, he probably gets that from so many people.
Right.
They know it. They know that they're like, when they're at that level, they know that they're touching people because everybody's like, your album changed the direction of my life.
Exactly. I remember going to gigs, driving in a rent-a-car, middle of the night, going across Kansas, I had 600 miles to get to the shittiest gig that was going to pay me shitty money. Yeah. With Nebraska playing, which do not put Nebraska on in the middle of the night during a rainstorm with lightning, because a state trooper come in, it's the state trooper, and you're like, shit, it's a Stephen King novel at that point. So what happens is, she goes, I want you to know, and Bruce goes, yeah, man. He goes, so my son Evan, he by the way, Bruce, it just tells stories. He just does. He's not making that shit up. The stuff he's talking about on stage, and he goes, my son Evan used to come home every night, and he would eat dinner real quiet, and then he'd go in his room and disappear, and he did it for like 3 months. And then one night he came out and he had the box sets to your TV show, and he said, Dad, this show taught me a lot about life. I want you to watch it with me. And I go, like, I don't even know what to say. And he goes, so I did. And he goes, I want you to know something, man. I don't like sitcoms. And Patty goes, yeah, we live in a very philosophical household. And I wrote about it when I did the bit, like, what must it be like to be his kid? Like your dad, 'cause no one likes their dad, when you're growing up and your dad's like, let me tell you a story about, Dad, shut up.
Dad.
And you're like, shut up, it's Bruce Springsteen.
You're embarrassing me, Dad. Put the guitar away.
So he goes, that TV show you did, man. He goes, I don't like sitcoms, but that show, man, that show was art. And I just stood there and I didn't know what to do. Oh, not only did I give him a 3-page letter, I have this buddy makes these cool skull rings. Yeah. And I got him and Patty's size, and I each had silver skull rings. So I'm married.
That's great.
I'm actually married. I'm married to the Springsteens right now. Then what happens is I give him the 3-page later, and he goes, you want me to read it now? And I went, no. Did you hear what I did to the edge? No. So he takes it, and then they go talk to other people, and I go over to Jackson Browne. Jackson Browne, Running on Empty, was the penultimate album in my dad's life. He would wake me up at 7 a.m. for school to Running on Empty at full volume. He put speakers in my room. And I thought it's because he liked me for a day. Turns out he wanted to have an alarm clock that he could control from the living room. So he would wake me up, and I told Jackson Browne, I go, and again, dude, I was in major douchebag mode this night. And I was just so stunned. These are all heroes. And I went to Jackson Browne and I go, hey, man, I just want you to know. I go, love your music, everything you've done. I go, but Running on Empty, I go, I know every song on that album. I go, that album is literally a soundtrack to my life. And Jackson Browne, I'm just dumping on him. And he goes, wow, man, I just wrote a bunch of songs.
Oh, God.
So there's an epilogue to this. So we leave. We have the best night ever. It's amazing. I think it's a peak in my life where I'm like, I don't know who else I could meet that I would be like and have it go that well. When Bruce Springsteen tells you the TV show you did and wrote was art, you're pretty much done. Like sure. You're like, that's your peak. 3 months later, no, 2 months later, maybe. I'm driving in my car. I'm leaving a car wash, and my phone rings, and it's a number. It says unknown, and I pick it up, and it's
answer it. You answer unknowns.
Bruce Springsteen.
No way, but I'm just stuck on the fact that you answer unknowns.
Yeah, I want to know who has the balls to call me.
Right. You like that? I see an unknown. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
He goes, hey man, hey Titus, it's Bruce Springsteen, which is weird to hear. And I go, you can't call me, man. I go, I told your wife, you gotta tell somebody. You can't just randomly call a human being. Do you know you're Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah.
And he starts laughing, and I go, what have you been doing? And he goes, oh man, we are on tour, and we start talking shop. I don't even think about it. I just don't know what to do. I'm kind of in panic mode. He goes, we got back from Europe. I go, how was Europe? Was it all right? He goes, oh man, dude. He goes, America's so fickle. He goes, I got 16-year-olds moshing in Europe for me. He goes, they love art over there. And I was like, oh, cool. He gets who he is. And he goes, hey, the reason I'm calling is, remember that letter you wrote me? And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm
Before you even get into the rest of this, what's in the letter? Like,
well,
what do you?
I told him. He goes, here's what he said. He goes, I came back from tour. He goes, I got sick on tour. And I go, really? He goes, I had to cancel a show. And I go, you canceled the show? He says, I know, right? Like, he really knows. And he goes, well, so anyway, I came back home and I remembered that you wrote me that letter and I started looking for it. And he goes, I couldn't find the letter. And he goes, so I wanted to call you and ask you, what did that letter say? Like, he lost the letter, dude, and instead of just blowing it off, he tracked down my phone number and called me to find out what I wrote in this 3-page letter to him. How crazy is that? And part of me was like, oh, good, because then that's why the FBI didn't show up.
It was just the 3-page letter was just Titus loves Bruce, Titus loves Bruce, Titus loves Bruce. Would you go out with me? Check yes, check no, check maybe.
And I told him, I said I wrote. Here's what I wrote in the letter. I said,
yeah, please.
I wrote you a letter about all. I said I wrote about the story in Kansas, driving across Kansas, and I said my whole life you've been part of my life, and I go the 26,000 people that saw you tonight are never going to get a chance to thank you, so I wrote this for them, that you don't even know. I know you know on one level, but you don't know the difference you make in everybody's life. So thank you. This is for them, not for me.
That's perfect. That's like, perfect, dude. That's better than I thought it was going to be. I mean,
especially for the itch thing. Oh my God.
Yeah. But that's beautiful. Like, you got to, it gets lost on us. And with all the stuff that we do, that there's people, regardless of what level you're at, like you're on a bigger level than I am, where you've had the TV show and you've had multiple specials, but I'm seeing it now even just from posting clips and doing a small Netflix special. Like, it's like people will reach out and they're like, I was dealing with this in my life, I had your special. Dude, I never got to say it to him. Patrice O'Neal's Elephant in the Room. I saw that right before I got in this bad car accident. And then I had the car accident. My friend died. I watched that special probably 100 times over the next like 3 or 4 months, because it just got you out of that. And it was just perfect. And like I said, comedy's one thing, but music hits us in a way that, I mean, I watch movies, I cry. Music makes me weep, and it could just be a chord change. It could just be a little thing. I go see Billy Joel once a month at Madison Square Garden, and
really?
Every time I'm on mushrooms, but every time he plays scenes from an Italian restaurant, I just weep. It's like, it's such a beautiful song. And it's just this, I don't know what it is. It just makes me think of so much. And
there's a song Springsteen does, and I can't hear it without just losing my shit. Walk Like a Man. There's a song, and it's off. I think it's off Tunnel of Love, and it just, every time I just turn into a 8-year-old boy crying about his dad. It's. And so you're right. Comedy doesn't do that. And once you've seen that show, you're like, yeah, I saw this bit. I can watch some comedy. Prior, I can watch Carlin. I can watch, but I watch it like a comic. I don't watch it like I'm into it again. I go, how's he doing this? What's he doing? But you're right. The music will take you to a place. And Springsteen's music, it's because it's so cinematic, man. I mean, there's a movie script I'm writing right now that was inspired by Racing in the Street. It's not the song, but I mean the imagery in the song. He's so fucking cinematic, man. He's our Twain, a musical Twain, musical Steinbeck. I mean, there's just it's
perfect. No, I want to go off what you're saying. So from doing this podcast, like I said, I was a very mid-level Bruce fan. Respect him, love the hits. I've listened to some of the deeper cuts on the big records, but for the most part, it was like, if Bruce is coming around, I'm going to go see him. It's unfortunate this last tour, I'm on the road or like I'm missing. I had a wedding on one of the days at MSG, so I didn't get to go. But from doing the podcast, we did Tunnel of Love, Tougher Than the Rest. I mean, I could listen to that. And after hearing him explain it on that, it was either the Howard Stern thing or it was in his show on Broadway, where he's like, I'm used goods, I'm damaged, but he's like, and I can't give you much, but I'll tell you, I'll be there in the end with you. I'll ride down, I'll fight with you. And it was just this beautiful thing about like being this this guy that's broken, but it's like, but I love you, and I'm gonna I'll stick with you, and it just, after hearing it, then it's like, now every time I hear it, it just gets me. I cry. And then from doing the podcast, we did The Rising, and dude, like listening to that song, The Rising, like I'm thinking about it now and I'm getting choked up because it's like, God damn, dude, that was the best tribute to 9/11 that anybody did. You really, you know, because the thing about Bruce that rules, he's the king of bridges. His verse is great, his chorus is great, but his bridge is always like, the flames burn higher, you know, I'm there, I'm a sad, and it's just like summarizes. And I remember listening to The Rising, getting ready for the podcast, just like getting really emotional because he literally makes you feel what it would have been like to be one of those firemen and police officers running into the World Trade Center. It's like he is our Mark Twain of the generation. Yeah, I mean it.
That album, I think The Rising is one of those albums that, like, he said he wrote it because that day 9/11 happened, some fan yelled out, "We need you more than ever, Bruce."
Yeah.
And he took it to heart, like, oh shit. And dude, you are our American songbook. You fucking are. You just are. And so, and that he took it on like that. And every song on that album is just awesome. There's a song on Ton of Love called The Big Muddy. I don't know. It's not on The Big Money. I think it's on maybe at Human Touch. It's funny because Human Touch and Lucky Town, there's some great stuff on it, but you have to. There's these gems that just never got what they deserved. You know, he's you know.
What's your deep like? If you could go see him live, what's the song that you would want Bruce to play?
Oh man, what have I seen him play live? You know,
what hasn't he played that you're like, oh please, just like. Like, I know this sounds so lame, but it's like for Billy Joel, I want him to play I Go to Extremes so bad. And it's like I always miss the show that he does it.
There's a song called Straight Time I love of Ghost of Tom Jones. There's Spare Parts I would love, because Spare Parts always it's dark, but it has this rock thing to it too. And it's but Big Muddy, man, it's such this weird kind of marshy New Orleans bluesy thing that I'd like to see him just. You know those moments when the band leaves to take a break and it's just Bruce and he grabs some weird, and it's Nils and him. And Nils got this weird slide guitar that's going wow wow wow, and you're like, what are we watching? He has the ability to take to make. Look, man, Leno. So people give me shit about Leno. I told him I'm bringing up Leno. Years ago, I went and saw Leno. And because people forget people go, Tonight Show, whatever, Leno. People forget that the reason Leno got the Tonight Show, because Leno was the baddest motherfucker there was. Leno would walk into I saw him in Marin at the Civic Center once, and Jay can fill a room. The great performers can fill up a room. And Springsteen can fill an arena. He walks out and he's given so much. Like you said it earlier, man, where you're just like, how is he doing this? Yeah. You're tired. You're in the third hour of the show, and you're like, how is he still walking? And I just think that he's great at filling a room. He can just be on stage by himself, and he still runs the whole show. It's pretty awesome.
It is. Before we get out of here, I've got a bunch of Patreon questions I want to ask you.
Sure.
All right. So I asked the one about the catalog that, you know, how would you rank your favorite Bruce records? Like if you had to do your top 5.
Man, my face. I would go, man. That sucks. That's a shitty question.
Well, you got to do it,
dude. Okay, I would go. All right, let me. I'm gonna give you the list in order. I'm gonna give you a whole list. All right,
give it to me.
You want this shit? Okay.
So it starts at. I already know. Number 1's Nebraska. So now we're working down.
I would go. I would go a number 1 Nebraska. Then I would probably go. I'd go The Rising, and then I'd go Ghost of Tom Joad, and then it's such a great album. And then listen, when Rage Against the Machine can take one of your songs and turn it into one of the baddest rockers ever, and then Springsteen did a version that kind of mixed his version with Rage's version with Tom Morello. You just like that. But that album is great too. I mean, then I would go to, man. It's funny. There's brilliance off of every album. I'm looking at a bunch of. Then I would probably go back to. I'd probably go back to Darkness, and Born to Run. And again, only because of length. The river, the river. If the river would, by the way, I'm never going to diss the river, but
Yeah.
if it was one album and you just took the best 12 of that one instead of having the 20 songs,
Yeah.
I think it would have. It's still a great.
Listen, this record that we did today is not a bad record. So to everybody listening that's a huge Bruce fan, I'm not saying it's a bad record whatsoever. It's a mood. And to get through and an hour and 20 minutes of a record can get like, it's perfect. It was a perfect record. The first time I heard it, I was driving from Baltimore back to New York. And it was great. It was nighttime. I was in a rented Camaro, brand new, just fucking zipping down 95 or zipping up 95. And it was great. But I mean, I'll be honest, I was like, this has got to be over soon. And then you're like, holy shit, there's 9 more songs left.
Well, here's Russell. Let's go to it. Let's go what's on this album because it is a brilliant album. Independence Day, another song that will just get to me because of my dad. Hungry Heart is on this album. Out in the Street is out there. Holy shit!
Great.
I mean,
The River is beautiful. The River is a beautiful song.
Point Blank, Cadillac Ranch is on it. I'm a Rocker, which is fun. Fade Away. I mean, it's just yeah, Wreck on. I mean, I take everything. It's a brilliant album, but there is. You can tell it's. I will say this. There's a couple of specials I've done where I go, that special. I needed to do that special to be able to be good enough to write and pull off this bit 2 specials later. That's what I think this album is for him. There's great shit on it, but there's stuff that the DNA he laid down in this album, the DNA for the next 10 albums.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to explain what this record is to his career. It's him trying different stuff, trying old stuff, trying new stuff, and really just he probably came up with a melody, came up with an idea, and just went with it. Maybe it was a writing exercise, and you're right. It's like you can hear how this record influenced. I mean, obviously, if it's on the 500 greatest albums list, and how many other records, Adam, are on here from Bruce? How many do we have left?
So right. So how many you have left?
Well, we've done fucking The Rising and Tunnel of Love.
You got Nebraska coming up at 226, Darkness on the Edge of Town at 150. The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle at 133. Born in the USA at 86, and Born to Run at 18. So
18. Wow. Yeah. I mean,
did it move up?
Well, there's certain artists that have a lot of that are the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd only I think has 2 records on here, maybe 3. I think they have. Was it the Piper at the Gates of Dawn? Was with the first one we did. They're gonna have Darkness, and I think Wish You Were Here or The Wall. They have 4. All right. Radiohead. What? Adam, what do you got?
I was just confirming 4.
It was 4. Okay. And then Radiohead, I think most of their records are on here. Bands like Big Star, if you ever listen to Big Star, Big Star has all 3 or 4 of their records are on here. Wow. But Bruce is one of the guys. I'm talking he's got about 6 albums on here. I mean, this guy is, like you said, he's one of the dudes that is arguably writing the Great American Songbook. Dylan, Billy Joel, these are the guys that you can talk about in the same breath as Cole Porter and Duke Ellington. And I mean, and literally have valid points of why they're the heir to them.
If aliens landed and go, explain to me the United States, and you just handed them the Bruce Springsteen live 75 to 85 box set, and you just went, okay, this is it. And then you handed him, then you took some singles, The River and The Rising, and you said, just listen to these. They would come back with a semblance and a vibe of what America is. He's really has a way of being to encompass it. And again, he was doing it when he was 29 before he'd experienced life that he has. He was writing about life just by noticing it. That's why Tunnel of Love is so much different, because that's fucking his life. He really took everything he learned observing and then took it to experiencing. And that's why The Rising is so good too, man. I mean, that's why when you said you wanted me on this album, I was like, oh man, this wasn't okay. I'll do okay. I'm in. But there's
This is great. Oh, dude, I'm so glad you came on to this. This is one, I'm a fan, and two, like you care, and your energy is making me want to listen to Nebraska now. And like, as soon as it's over, I'm putting Nebraska on. I'm gonna feed my dog, go on a walk. Like it's great. So I want to have a question. Because when we're talking about some of the greatest bands in the history of music, you know, and I'm talking world and America. Do you feel like Bruce gets that respect in that discussion?
Worldwide, he does. Worldwide, he does. I mean, he sold 1 million tickets. When this last tour, when they announced it, he sold 1 million tickets in 3 days.
Wow.
And I'm friends with Nils Lofgren, and Nils calls me. He goes, well, I'm going on tour. I go, yeah, I heard 1 million tickets. So here's Nils Lofgren, by the way, is the hardest working guitarist I've ever heard. So he goes, I know we're going on tour. So he goes, Bruce gave us 50, 60 songs. And so I call, they have to learn because they're playing all over. Yeah. So he calls Bruce and he goes, all right, I'm already working on it. Bruce goes, hey man, don't worry about it. We just sold 1 million tickets. Bruce told me on the phone, that phone call we had, he said America is really fickle. They like whatever's shiny that week. He said Europe, he goes, they really appreciate artists. They really, really appreciate it. He said he loves playing Europe. That's what he told me then. And I think over the years though, he's really become ours. I've never been to a show that wasn't sold out with Bruce ever. You know? Oh
my God. I mean, the MSG tickets were going for floor seats were going for like $4,000 and they were worth it. Like, that's kind of like, I remember I said to myself, all right, like I have a budget in my head of what I'm willing to pay for Bruce. I'm willing to go up to about 1,200, maybe 1,500 for a good seat. Yeah. But it's also, you know, like I've heard some people say he's lost the energy just a little bit. It's even like this whole Billy Joel thing where Billy's done, you know, he's goddamn like 6, 7 straight years of playing MSG once a month, except for during COVID. And I've been, God knows how many times since I moved out here. And the last show I saw with my sister, that was the first show. I was like, oh man, I feel like he's losing it just a little bit. But I mean, the guy's in his 70s. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, how many times can you play Uptown Girl and be fucking excited about it? And I think sometimes you just, you know, Bruce is one of those things where it's like, people need him so much and they need him to go out on tour, you know, but dude, you're in your 70s, your body. I mean, I saw Iggy Pop at the Palladium and that motherfucker gave you everything he had for the 2 hours of that show. But the thing that stuck with me more than anything was after, and he's got his shirt off and he looks, you know, weird because his skin's all, you know, kind of 70-year-old skin. And he fucking got the crowd in the palms and they're going nuts. And then he goes, after the encore, he goes to walk backstage and he's limping. Like you could see him, like he's in pain. But he'll still go out there because dude, Bruce needs it, I think, as much as we do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, imagine being the guy. It's funny because we were talking about on the river. He was at 29. He didn't know, is this all there is? And then he lived a life and got all those things he said he was missing. And then he went back to like, yeah, I'm going to go back to that because I guess this is all there is. and he tours hard. Nils said they're on tour for a year.
Yeah.
And Nils is in his 60s, and I mean, band members have died, and Springsteen's still going. And I think someone said something. My wife does. There's a Peloton. My wife has a Peloton. Sorry, God, that's a white. That's a fucking.
It's okay, dude. It's okay. Many people have Pelotons.
So she's one of the girls. Jane Sherman is a major Bruce Springsteen fan, and because they sold the rights, Peloton can now use Springsteen's music because they're paying for it. And she did a Springsteen ride, and the girl was literally on the bike instructing and crying, and she goes, I've seen him 5 times on this tour, and she said, and I'm sad because I know this won't last forever, because you got to remember, Bruce has been around forever.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
And now he's 73, and I don't know what do you think, man? How much longer can he go?
And this is why I go see everybody now. I go see everybody because I missed, I'm such, and even though it's like, it was such a guilty pleasure. I'm a huge Neil Diamond fan. I talk about him all the time on the podcast. It's just somebody I like. He's just been there, and I'm like, I fucking love him. And I finally got money, and I missed all the shows that he was doing in LA. And now I'm like, oh, now I can go. And he's got Parkinson's. He's never going to tour again. And so because of that, anybody, I'm talking like I'm a very passive Clapton fan, and knowing about he's like this, even though he's kind of like a bastard and a racist piece of shit, I still went to go see him. I can't see Pink Floyd, so I saw Roger Waters. Same thing. I seem to be going to a lot of racist people's shows. I don't know what is wrong with me.
Take a look inside, maybe take a look.
I know. Well, I'm a Holocaust denier, so I mean, let's just go with the flow. Now, but this is like, I'm going to see The Cure. I'm going to see Depeche Mode.
They were awesome. We just saw The Cure.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm going to see them on Tuesday. But this is
it was weird. It was like, you're right. It was. I tweeted that. I go, they were awesome, but it was like John Belushi did one of his best characters. They were great, but it was. Here's how good they were. A buddy of mine who we just took, Zach, the guy who played my brother on the show. He turns.
I know Zach. I used to run into him at Cha-Cha, what was that bar in LA? The Cha-Cha Lounge or something. I remember I met him and I spoke with him because he also played Scott Farkas in The Christmas Story. Yeah. He's still riding that horse too, by the way, man. That's a good horse to ride, dude.
Yeah, it is. And he turns to me halfway through The Cure and he goes, "I get it now." Yeah, that's how good they were. At this point in their career, they turned to Zach, which is great. So I do this. I went and saw Prince. Prince was playing shows at the Roosevelt when I first got with Ray. I was going through my divorce and it was fucking horrible. And the tickets were insane because there was only like 300 seats.
Yeah.
And I said, fuck it. And I bought it. People, you're by the way, you're absolutely right. People, go see that you love. You know why? Because you may never get that experience again. And whatever you do, it's going to inspire you. If those people made a difference in your life, spend a little money. You'll get the money back. Look, you'll work some extra hours. You'll sell something on Craigslist. What the fuck? But you won't get to see these brilliant people again. It may never happen again. So go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. All right, let's wrap this up. Dude, you're coming back. You're coming back.
Dude, this was a blast. Thanks, man.
This was so great. All right, I ask everybody these questions. First question, what's your favorite song on the record?
On this record?
Yes. I know it's a tough.
I have to say
35 to choose from.
No, I'm going to call The River. I play guitar and I play The River all the time. There's so much. That entire song is such a screenplay. It's such a screenplay, and it's dark and it still has hope in it. So I'm not even playing it because it's popular. I love it because it's just there's a reason. There's a reason the album was named that song.
Sure. It's got. I know exactly what you're saying. It definitely, out of all the songs on this record, it definitely is the one that just seems to stick with you the most. Yeah. I love Out in the Street. I think Out in the Street is such a perfect rock and roll pop song. I don't think it gets it doesn't get the justice I think it deserves when you talk about, fucking the Bruce Springsteen catalog.
But it's killer in concert. Holy shit, is that fun song.
Oh my God, dude. I think it's up there with Born to Run. I love it. I love it. All right. What do you skip over on this record? Is there anything that you're just passing through?
So I think that like the Wreck on the Highway. It's even for a Springsteen song, it's a little morose. Some of the other songs that are slow on his other albums, there's a story. There's such a solid story. Wreck on the Highway. It just, I don't know. It feels like a throwaway, but Bruce's throwaways are still, a killer. But I just go through it. Yeah.
All right, I respect that. All right,
I have guilt. I'm sorry, Mr. Springsteen.
Sorry. All right, I love this question. Can you fuck to this record?
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, yes, because I'm. Yes, of course you can. Yes. In fact, I would love Wreck on the Highway at the end. Of course, I gotta have to fuck for 3 hours though.
If you try to make it through, dude, it's 82 minutes. There's gonna be a lot of foreplay, dude. There's a lot of foreplay.
A lot of cuddling.
A lot of it. Yeah, massages. There's no way. I don't think I can get through. I'd probably get to Hungry Heart, and then I'd be like, okay, we're good. We're good. Can you work out to this record? And if so, what would be the style of fitness?
I think you could work out to the first half of it. I really think you could work out to the first half. If I could put it, I tell you what, I would put it on shuffle so I could fast forward through a couple of the slow songs.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Yeah. I do. Listen, when the songs pop on this record, they really pop.
Yeah.
When he brings you down, Bruce has a way of being able to just like, it's all like you kept mentioning Ghost of Tom Joad. I mean, when he has a depth to him. So when he brings you into his world and acoustic guitar, you're there. You're hearing that story. You're paying attention. It's tough to do that. You know, it's not, you can't do CrossFit to this album. Maybe out on the street.
When you hear the whine, he plays a harmonica in such a way that the harmonica it just like rips into your soul. You're like, oh, this is something horrible happened, and there's going to be hope at the end. That's all I know.
Yeah.
It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be sad, and then we're going to pull out of it anyway because we are born to run. It's let me see. Could I Independence Day? I'm looking at the track list right now, and I just could I fuck to this? Yeah, you can look, but you better not touch. Yeah, I want to marry you. Yeah, the river. Again, definitely the first disc. The first disc, definitely. The first was like Cadillac Ranch. Yeah, you could wrap up with Cadillac Ranch. That's okay. And I'm a Rockers after that. Yeah, perfect. And then Stolen Car, Ramrod's all right.
Hopefully finish before Wreck on the Highway.
Anyway, I see where I'd nod off. I can see where I would nod off.
Yeah.
But it's still an awesome album.
I think, look, I think, you know, with someone like Bruce, especially going back to the sex thing, is, you know, who was it said it? Brandon Boyd from Incubus we had on here. We were talking about Jeff Buckley, his first record and only record. And he made a good point about putting on music when you're connecting with somebody and making love to somebody. And he's like, I want to be present. I want to be there. And he's like, and to hear something like this that's so beautiful would make me, I'd be hearing the music more than I would be actually enjoying the moment. And I don't know if I fully agree with that. I do understand. I think there are some records.
I'll tell you what I'll do next time. We need to do, it's funny because this is such a weird question. It's one of those, it's a very funny question. I'm thinking of 7 tracks right now that if you you could put a Get Down Bruce playlist that would actually make that almost a Prince level. There's some,
what are they? Come on, man.
Well, I mean, not off. I'd have to go.
No. It's not this record. I know that. That for a fact.
All right, hold on. I would definitely put. I would put the Big Muddy in. I'd put Spare Parts. I would put in Nebraska because it's such a dark song.
Yeah.
But there's a vibe, man. You could put. And then I would also put. I might put. I'd put Downbound Train on there, definitely. I would put, I don't know if I put Dancing in the Dark. Dancing in the Dark, to me, it's great, but it's kind of Bruce's I'm Sexy and I Know It. It's like, there's Easy. What else?
Have you ever heard that?
Gloria? I put Gloria from Human Touch on there.
You ever heard the John Legend version of Dancing in the Dark that he did on Stern?
No, is it awesome?
Oh my God. He slows it down and plays it on piano. You should listen to it. You can fuck to that.
That's another thing Springsteen's brilliant at, man. Like I play No Retreat, No Surrender. I put that on that version he did live where he slowed it way the fuck down and it just has all this like pain. There's great lines in it. You say the world isn't ours anymore to win. It's like the lyrics. His lyrics are. It's just not bullshit. His lyrics aren't bullshit. Like
at all.
Lyrics are always where you're like. Some of his lyrics you could do, like I'm just gonna put that on a T-shirt or I'm living by that. You could just take Springsteen lyrics, put them on a Post-it, put them on the refrigerator, and just get inspired every morning. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, man.
Dancing in the Dark. What was I about to say? This is what I was going to say. We went to go see Coldplay at MetLife Stadium. Me and Big J Okerson and his girlfriend. We take mushrooms. I take mushrooms a lot. I should just get that out of the way. If this assumed that I'm any concert I'm at, I'm on mushrooms. I took mushrooms and saw Mellencamp last week. Wow. Took mushrooms and saw Seal. That was Mellencamp and Seal were both artists that you were talking about, like, because I'll just go to concerts and I was like, fuck it, dude, I'm going to see Seal. And like a song in, I was like, this motherfucker rules. Yeah, I went as a joke. And then Mellencamp, I just had a night off and I was like, I'm going to go see Mellencamp. He's at the Beacon and it just ruled. Yeah. Like it's same thing. He's old, but man, is that like every song is just like, I know that. This is great. But we go see Coldplay, and Coldplay is arguably one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yep.
And they have like 3 different stages in MetLife, and they go after. It's like they don't really do an encore per se, but they do this small stage where the band is all close together, and there's like this weird way they get up, I guess, underneath the stadium, and then they kind of come up, and they do one of their songs, and then they go, we have a special guest, and Bruce comes out. And I mean, literally, I have video. I'm, 15 feet, because we were standing by the little stage. So it just so happened when they went to that one, we're front row, and they do this very beautiful acoustic version of Dancing in the Dark. And I mean, this is New Jersey too. So they lose their shit when he shows up. He annihilate. Oh, he does 2 songs. He does Dancing in the Dark a second. He did something else. I think you might have mentioned the name, but I can't remember what it was. But it was just magical. And from that moment, with Coldplay putting on such a great show, and then having Bruce come out, it literally went from being in my top 20 concerts I've ever seen to being in my top 5. Because that moment was just like, holy fucking shit. And he's got an energy, and they killed it. But they did that song.
They played one song and he came out early, or he came out at the end?
No, so they did. So they played most of their hits.
Okay. So
Coldplay, and then they instead of doing an encore, they have this big massive stage, and then they move like it's like they play this weird video while the band then goes underneath the stage and comes up at another stage deeper in the stadium, but it's literally just like they're all packed together. You know what I mean? So it's really cool looking.
That's awesome.
And then they do one of their songs, and then Bruce comes out. They do another song that I can't remember the title of, Working on a Dream. Working on a Dream, yeah.
Wow.
And then they do Dancing in the Dark, and it was, I mean, I have video of it, and it's just like it's you get chills, because the song is just like, and we do that at the goddamn Comedy Jam, and it fucking murders. Like the crowd loses their shit, but to hear it stripped down. And I think you take most of his songs, and that's why that Broadway show was so special, because he's stripping everything down and he's playing these hits. But you get once you get the glitz and glamour of the sax and the this and all that, and you take that away, it is just a guy sitting in his apartment or his house and writing these beautiful songs on an acoustic guitar, and they're just as good there as they are with the full band.
Born in the USA stripped down is one of the, like I mean, when Reagan was like, yeah, well, I was born in the USA, and Bruce was like, I'm going to make a statement. Did you listen to the song? Because the song is not a good thing. And the version that he does, the original version of it, wasn't that big banging. It was born down in a dead man's town. It's like, it's the darkest where you get it. And he's brilliant at that. He's brilliant at just taking a song that rocked and go, I'm going to turn this into this most heart-wrenching ballad, this gut turner. And man, thanks for letting me talk about him. It's weird.
My pleasure.
By the way, how you just described, by the way, people, again, I want to say, go to concerts, go see live performers, because you can see him on Netflix, you can see him but go see him live. Did you hear how he got? Talking about that? That you never know what's going to happen when you just go spend a little extra money. I guarantee you it will be worth it.
Live music, live comedy, like even theater. Go to a fucking play, dude. Just go support the arts. There's something about going into a room, especially go to the fucking movies. Like, watching shit on Netflix is great, but there's something about going in that theater with everybody on opening night of Batman Begins, and he comes out and you're like, what the fuck? Or seeing The Sixth Sense and getting that turn at the end where we're all experiencing it at the same time. Being in a group of people, the energy that we put off, man, in these exciting moments in life and these beautiful things, it's like, it's the best. And that's why I loved LA. I lived there 14 years. I went to a bunch of concerts. Every night of the week in New York City, there's something dope going on every night. And if I have a night off, now that I got money, I do not miss my opportunity. So the last thing I want to ask you is, what would be your elevator pitch to get someone to listen to this record?
I would just go, you heard this on the river, right? I go, imagine having 20 more of those. And by the way, it's Bruce Springsteen. You need the elevator pitch Bruce Springsteen. You know that guy Bruce Springsteen? No, I don't. Really? Who the fuck are you? Wait, just get me out of this elevator. You don't know who Bruce Springsteen?
We're going to the same floor. No, I'm going.
You don't live in the building, right? Because I don't want to fucking be. I'm not near you. I mean, you don't know who Bruce Springsteen is. It's funny. I'm looking at the track list that I would say The River, and then I'd go. Then let's go right to Cadillac Ranch, man. I go, this album. There's a bunch of stuff on this album that's in your DNA because it's played on elevators and it's played in buildings and you've heard it on the car radio. And when you hear that, you're going, holy shit, what is this? Holy shit, I know this song. What's my elevator pitch? By the way, this is why I'm not on a TV show right now, because it's a shitty pitch.
I think you said it. You said it earlier, Christopher. Like you said it. It's like this is the record that sets up Bruce in the next 5 or 6 albums that he did after this. This is a man.
This lays down the DNA for the next all the way to the
rest of his career, probably.
Yeah, right. Right, and he got better at it. At this album, he's looking for something in this album. He's all over 50s, 60s. You can tell Steve Van Zandt had a heavy hand in because Steve loves the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
But this album, I think he was like searching for it, and then the next album, the next album is so fucking pure. Nebraska's so pure. I think he got who he was off this album.
I dig that. All right, promote away, buddy. Anything you want to promote?
Man, I'll be in Nashville coming up. New show, Carrying Monsters. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'm on tour all year with Carrying Monsters. This show is probably the best I've done. It's dark. It's the darkest thing I've ever written, and I'm not bragging. I'm warning, and it's not. I'm not. There's a couple bits in this that you're gonna be like, am I supposed to laugh at this? But it's funny. But it's dark. But it's the best. I think it's the best thing I've ever done because I found a way. I finally got to where Norman. It's like part 2 of Norman Rockwell's Bleeding. It's like 2.0. It's like Norman Rockwell, I kind of was trying to tell the stories without offending anybody in a sense of where I was going. Now I'm 10 specials after that, and now I'm saying this is what's really going on.
I love that.
And from everything from my sister's suicide to my horrible divorce. But it all comes out. But another thing I learned from Bruce is you can take him down the dark road, but make sure at the end, man, you let him out in the light. Make sure it's okay out there. It sucked, but it's okay. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you're one of the best at doing it, man. I mean that. I was a fan of the TV show, and I'm a fan of your stand-up. So to be able to sit down and talk to you about an artist like Bruce, man, this really was a pleasure. These are one of the episodes that make me. Dude, I got another 5 years of doing this fucking podcast and I want to quit nonstop. So just to give you an idea, like being able to sit down and talk to you and become friends with you, man, this meant a lot to me. So,
dude, I appreciate it. And we started a new podcast today called Knock 'em Dead. It's about trying to get people through, funny way of get people through death because we're all going to die. So how do we deal with that? We talked to a dude that had a near-death experience that was insane because I had one, and so that's coming out. And then I've got and then Zero Side Effects, my special that we did for COVID, is on my YouTube channel right now. So go see that.
Go watch all of it. Support live comedy. Go see Chris live and go to concerts. Dude, this ruled, man. Thank you, buddy.
This is a blast, brother. I will see you again. Anytime you want me for this again, I will do more research. If you ever do a Prince one, I'm in. But I'll be way more psycho about that.
We got about 5 more years until fucking Purple Rain, bro. So just give you an idea.
I'm in.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.